out here somewhere in these woods around that swamp. It's a long swamp, and he may not be on this property right now, but it's a long swamp, and he can be anywhere, and I promise you he is somewhere.
Did Mitchell see the same animal that terrified Chris Davis? Was it a lizard man? Whatever it was, he's taking no chances.
I promise you I wouldn't come out here without my gun, and a good flashlight.
Could so many witnesses be wrong? What is living in the swamps of South Carolina? Crypto hunter John Rhodes has a theory so weird, if true, it would change the history of evolution.
The lizard man of Bishopville, he evolved here. He continues to live here just like we do. It's just that we don't get to see these guys very often.
It's a wild idea. The lizard man is not half human, but a creature that has evolved alongside of us. A human-like reptile known as a reptoid.
A reptoid is a combinative word of reptilian and humanoid. And a reptoid is actually a being that has been looked at as being 7.5 feet tall. It's large, very muscular build, large chest. It's got a hand with an opposable thumb and three large fingers with claws. They don't seem to have any ears. There's no hair on the body. The eyes are very large and almond-looking with vertical slit pupils. They have 2 slits for a nose, and their lips and their jawline is very strong, and their lips their mouth has no lips. It's lipless. And these beings are very imposing when you're looking at them, because you feel that there's just no chance to outrun them or to get away or anything like that. So it's a terrifying event to meet one for the first time. Reptoids evolved naturally on Earth through the lineage of reptiles or the dinosaurs, most likely the dinosaurs. We do actually have scientific evidence that supports this kind of conjecture. There was a scientist by the name of Dale Russell who worked with the Museum of Natural Sciences in Ottawa, Canada, and he was asked by NASA to speculate what extraterrestrial life would look like should we encounter it. And what he did was he took a dinosaur that was alive 65 million years ago named Troodon, and based on its fossil records, he was able to morphologically look forward in time past the point of where they died out to see exactly what they would have looked like later on down the line in history. And the model he came up with was strikingly similar to those reported by people like in Bishopville, South Carolina, or across the United States, but also historically, because the historical records are filled with serpent-like beings or anthropological serpent-like beings who have the ability to talk to humans.
Rhodes thinks this points to an astonishing conclusion, that the dinosaurs never actually died out, and may even have evolved in similar ways to human beings.
There's potential for a convergent evolution between mammals and what we would think of as dinosaurs.
To support his case, Rhodes claims the reptoid's ancestor was an unusually smart dinosaur called the Troodon.
It was intelligent. It had a large brain case. Its eyes were actually coming from the side of its head towards the front of its face to allow it to have stereoscopic vision. It made a better hunter.
Could a supposedly extinct dinosaur have evolved into the creature they call the lizard man? Here's what the lizard man might look like: an artist's conception of a modern-day Troodon.
This illustration is actually very similar to those descriptions provided by the individuals who have cited the lizard man in Bishopville.
Did Chris Davis encounter a reptoid evolved from a dinosaur? Rhodes believes not only do reptoids exist with an intelligence to rival ours, but they are living right under our feet.
From the research that we've done, it appears that reptilian humanoids and their small populations live in geologically remote areas underground with technology just like we have on the planet. Are they more advanced than us? That's somewhat questionable. If they have evolved longer than us, I would say that's definite.
Is an advanced reptoid civilization living somewhere deep inside the Earth? Rhodes realizes his theory sounds far-fetched.
Keep in mind, as fantastic as this sounds, scientists know we've only cataloged about 4% of all life on Earth. That means that there's anywhere from 100 to 200 million life forms on our planet we haven't even seen and cataloged yet.
Could dinosaurs have survived all these years and evolved hidden from view? Or could there be another explanation?
There's many things in the environment that can cause mutations.
A strange creature terrorizes the town of Bishopville, South Carolina. Is it half man, half lizard? Shannon Bard, professor of environmental toxicology at Dalhousie University, doesn't think the lizard man is an evolved dinosaur. She raises an even more bizarre possibility, that the creature could be a normal reptile mutated into a monster by toxic chemicals.
There's many things in the environment that can cause mutations. There can be different chemicals in the environment which can interact at a cellular level and actually cause the DNA to get breaks in it, and that causes a mutation. These could be generated at an industrial site or at a hazardous waste site and could accidentally be introduced into the environment, and you could get exposure that way. So different chemicals in industrial processes, different drugs can be very potent, and there are also situations in which a chemical itself or a drug itself may not act as a mutagen itself, but it may disrupt cellular function in such a way that a mutation actually occurs. There's damage to the cell, and it causes stress in the cell, and then a mutation results as a secondary effect.
Sometimes these mutations can create giants.
There are many factors involved in producing animals that may be growing larger or stronger than their parents. They could potentially have some mutations in their genes, which would increase the level of growth hormones.
But if the lizard man is a mutant monster, how did it become one? Well, guess what? A toxic waste dump was located right near Bishopville at the time of the lizard man sightings.
Very poor areas or remote areas were selected for hazardous waste dumps, areas that weren't being used. And many years ago, we weren't aware of the fact that many of the chemicals could be leaching from these disposal sites into the environment where animals could be exposed to them. And this particular site, there was discharge of the waste into surrounding water bodies. And so you could have a situation in which mutagens would enter into the aquatic environment, and different organisms living there could potentially be exposed.
Strange creatures emerging from toxic waste dumps, transformed from cute little critters into giant mutant beasts that terrify the planet? Ridiculous, isn't it? Well, I gotta tell you, I don't think it is. I've had some very serious issues with my plumbing lately. And if whatever it is living in there escapes, all of us are doomed. Could the lizard man be a giant rampaging mutant? Ben Radford is the deputy editor of the Skeptical Inquirer magazine.
I'm investigating the lizard man as, for example, a homicide detective would investigate a murder. You look at eyewitnesses, you look at forensic evidence.
He thinks there's less to the lizard man phenomenon than meets the eye.
You see the same thing with a lot of these sort of mysterious monsters. You don't have direct evidence of these things. You have very, very few eyewitness sightings.
Why? Simple. Radford claims people invoke the lizard man whenever something unusual happens in Bishopville.
People aren't saying, I saw the lizard man. People are saying, this is weird, what could it be? Oh, there's a lizard man down the road, that must be it. It's an interesting psychological phenomena where people, they attribute things that they can't explain to monsters.
But Radford is certain what really drives the lizard man stories is money.
Of course, the lizard man has been an economic boom for Bishopville and elsewhere. People cashing in on it.
Then there's the lizard man merchandise.
We have, of course, a bumper sticker. Who doesn't need that on your minivan? Lizard, of course.
Is it a mutant lizard born in a or is it a hoax designed to boost the local economy and cover up for vandals? Weird. Or what? A man is attacked by a terrifying and bloodthirsty creature in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. Was it a werewolf?
I have never seen an animal that ever looked like that.
Dogs. Man's best friend. Take Fluffy here, for example. Even though he eats me out of house and home, I'd die for this guy. I love him. He gives me companionship, protection. Well, maybe not so much protection, but so much love. Really, I couldn't live without him. But what if under this harmless exterior, what if there's something evil inside? What if Fluffy isn't a dog at all, but half dog, half human?
Doing my normal DNR deer pickup, and there was a deer I came across on Holy Hill Road that was not on the scheduled pickup list.
Stops to check the animal.
It was about an 80-pound deer, a doe. They threw down the tailgate, tossed it in the back of the truck. Had to go back in the cab to fill out the paperwork to be able to take the deer properly.
But this routine job is about to become a nightmare. Suddenly, Stephen feels the truck shudder.
Didn't faze me at first. I thought it might have been the wind or something. And then it shook more vigorously the second time. I looked in the rear view mirror and there it was.
What he sees makes no sense. Something bizarre is climbing onto his truck.
I just saw it from the head to the shoulders, a little bit below the shoulders. It looked like it was reaching into the truck to grab, and which I'm only assuming was the deer that I just put in there.
What could be strong enough to carry out the 36-kilogram deer?
It looked like a large wolf head on top of a really husky, furry body. It was something I never have ever seen before, and I've seen pretty much every animal that I thought was in the state of Wisconsin, from bear to wolves to coyotes.
But Stephen's confusion is about to turn to terror. As he watches, the creature stands on its two hind legs, like a man.
I guessed it to be around 6.5 to 7 feet tall. It could have been a very large wolf on its hind legs. I've never seen that before. Stared at it for about, I don't even know if it was 5 seconds, might even be too long. I threw the truck into drive because it scared the living daylights on me, and I hit the gas.
Stephen thinks he's safe until he hears something strange.
I did hear the clunk of the ramp hitting the ground. There was a distinctive metal hitting the pavement type of sound.
Somehow, the animal has pulled the deer and the heavy metal ramp right off his truck. Despite his fear, he decides he must go back.
I did need to go back and get the ramp because that was a vital part of my job. On the heavier deer, I can't pick up a 180-pound deer on my own.
Stephen returns to the scene, but the creature has vanished.
When I got back to the area, I just grabbed my flashlight and the ramp, the deer, everything was gone. Did not find anything.
Whatever it was strong enough to drag the deer and the ramp off into the woods. Frightened and confused, Stephen heads straight to the police.
I figured it was an aggressive animal, whatever it was, so I decided to stop in at the Washington County Sheriff's Department and report the incident.
Stephen recounts his weird encounter, but remarkably, the police aren't surprised. They've heard the story before. The creature even has a name. They call it the Bray Road Beast. The mysterious animal has been sighted hundreds of times, going back at least 3 decades.
They did take me serious on it. They did send out 2 squads to take a look for it, but they did not find anything either.
What did Stephen Kruger see? What animal stands like a human and has super strength? Could this be evidence that werewolves exist?
I have never seen an animal that ever looked like that. I don't think I ever will see another animal that looks like that, to be honest.
You know, of all things in the human psyche, a werewolf is one of the most terrifying. I mean, just look how ugly this guy is. But actually coming into contact with one, now that's scary. What do? Well, you can use one of these. Do silver bullets really work? Well, perhaps you could use one of these. I hope you didn't think I meant that ugly crap. Folklorist James Lauder is an expert on werewolves. He says they are more myth than monster.
There have always been stories about people transforming into animals. You can go back and look at the myths. In Christian theology and in Christian writings, they represent humankind falling into the control of Satan.
No one can run from the werewolves.
It was, and that it was an animal.
But what animal fits the description given by Stephen Kruger and hundreds of others who have come into contact with the Bray Road beast? Wolf? Or a wolf that learned to walk like a man? Paranormal phenomena expert Linda Godfrey apparently has the answer. She was a reporter on the scene when the first Bray Road beast sightings began in 1991.
To my surprise, when I began to investigate, I found out that there was a wide variety of witnesses. None of them seemed to have anything to gain by lying, and most of them were genuinely frightened by what they had seen.
These eyewitnesses described a beast much like the one that attacked Stephen Kruger's truck.
They were seeing a creature that stood 5 to 7 feet tall, looked like an upright wolf running or walking on its hind legs.
Godfrey's investigation led her to a startling revelation. The creature isn't from this world.
It's some sort of other dimensional manifestation, similar to the Native American concept of spirit creatures that cross back and forth from a spirit world to ours.
Does the Bray Road beast travel at will between our reality and another beyond? Yes, says Godfrey, and here's how. They use ancient Native American religious sites as portals to the spirit world. They're called Effigy Mounds, man-made piles of earth in the shape of animals, and Wisconsin has more of them than anywhere in the world.
They represented different facets of the animal kingdom, from water creatures to land creatures to air creatures. The people who built the Effigy Mounds, their shamans were able to bring forth spirits that would guard the mound.
Could this be true? Well, think about this. Most sightings of the Bray Road beast have taken place in or around Effigy Mounds. Is the creature somehow using ancient religious sites as a gateway from another dimension?
But it just is very odd that the hot spots of dogman sightings are all very close to these concentrations of certain types of effigy mound. I discovered almost accidentally that concentrations of a certain type of effigy mound that have a very long tail and are either called the panther, lizard, or water spirit mound correspond almost exactly with hotspot sightings areas of the dogman. I don't pretend to fully understand it, and I hope someday that I figure out a little bit more about it.
Was the creature that terrified Stephen Kruger a supernatural being from another world? Is the Bray Road beast a wolf that evolved to walk on 2 legs? Or are werewolves real and living in Wisconsin? Whatever the truth, this story is most definitely weird, or what?